Hello, this is Rose Red and welcome to this video where I walk 10,000 steps a day pretty consistently on average for the past 2 months or so. And I kind of just wanted to talk about the reason why I decided to walk 10,000 steps a day, kind of my process doing it, how it went, and tips that I would recommend to someone who is also trying to start out that helped me in order to get to walking 10,000 steps a day on average. I want to note I am not a professional by any means. This is simply just my own research or things that I found that helped me to stay consistent. And if any of this advice helps you, that's great to hear. Love to hear that. But otherwise, none of this is professional advice at all. Just things that worked for me. So first and foremost, why 10,000 steps? Obviously because 10,000 sounds nicer than 8,000. I do know that, and in case you are not aware, the health benefits I think it's between 6,000 and 8,000 versus 10,000 steps are pretty negligible. You kind of plateau. So getting to 10,000 steps a day is slightly better than getting to 6,000 or 7,000. So the reason I decided to still do 10,000 is because I'm an overachiever and I'm ambitious, and I very much went into it with the mentality of I just want to hit 10,000 steps. If I can do that extra little bit to help myself, I want to do that. So not required by any means. Again, between 6,000 and 8,000 steps a day, just depending on where you are, is perfectly fine, and you are getting just as much as I'm getting. So if you're already around that point, don't even stress it, If you do want to get more, of course, stick around. Yeah, so been walking 10,000 steps a day on average. Some days it's been more like 6,000 or 7,000. Other days it's been more like 13,000 or 14,000, but my Apple Watch says that I'm 10,000 on average, so I'm happy about that. So how it's gone with doing 10,000 steps a day and kind of the things that I've noticed while doing. To be honest, I don't really notice that much difference in terms of my health or my energy. It is nice, of course, to get outside, and I'm sure that there are effects that are helping. I just haven't noticed them. I don't know if maybe it's because I was already getting around 5,000 or 6,000 steps a day before this. And so maybe, again, that whole, it's negligible after a certain point. Maybe it's simply just not noticeable, or maybe I'm just not noticing it because I've been consistent with it and I haven't felt what it's like to not be doing 10,000 steps a day. Really can't say. Genuinely no idea. But I do know what is nice about it, maybe not from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, just having that time carved out to be outside, be in nature, listening to podcasts or music or friends, just kind of chatting, has been very nice for my mental. So, if you're not doing it for the physical effects, at least do it for the sake of you're going on a nature walk and things like that. So that's been really nice. And also it is kind of just nice to, move around a little bit. I'm sure even if I'm not feeling it today, I will feel it in 5 to 10 years, once my body gets a little bit older. I'm sure that it'll be grateful that I was moving around and I was using it, getting my heart rate up a little bit, things like that. So still recommend doing it, of course, if you can and if you are able. So yeah, it's been really nice, basically just going on trails or going around the neighborhood. Sometimes I just go in loops around my room, around the kitchen, if I really can't manage to get out or if the weather is really shitty. But yeah, just doing whatever I can in order to just keep hitting that 10,000 steps a day goal. So what I found, things that helped me, again, not professional advice. I'm not saying this will automatically make you hit 10,000 steps a day. This is just what I found that worked for me. I find that if I work and I get my steps in the morning, within the first 3 to 4 hours of me waking up, that is the most consistent way for me to actually hit 10,000 steps a day. If I wait until the afternoon or the evening, it can still happen, but it's way less likely if I've already had a full day of dealing with a bunch of stuff and then I'm like, okay, time to go walk. It's not always the most appealing thing to do in times like that. So I've personally found it's way better to do it in the morning, kind of just get it out of the way, and that way I don't have to stress about it throughout the day, you know? So that's my first tip, is just in the morning. And really, I mean, not even necessarily in the morning, just whatever the morning looks like for you. If you wake up at 2 p.m., go for a walk before 5 p.m., you know, whatever it is that makes it so that you are doing it very early on. The other thing for me, as I've already kind of mentioned, is definitely trails. Finding trails nearby. Walking around the neighborhood gets stale really quickly, and sometimes it's not that great depending on your neighborhood. Like, my neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks, so walking in the road is not ideal. So if you can find trails nearby, I do know the All Trails app is really nice for finding trails nearby. That's a really great way to do it. All the better if you can find a trail that has a loop. If it has a loop, you're a lot more likely to do the entire thing in comparison to if you have like a, what is it even called? Like a one-way trail? I don't know. Where you have to turn around. You're gonna be inclined to turn around every 5 minutes. So if you do a loop, you get to a point where you're like, well, I may as well just keep going. And so that way, at least for me, it was easier to complete with loops. Another thing that helped me a lot as well is, I kind of mentioned earlier, having something to listen to. It's nice to go on walks and not have something in your ear, not be using your phone, and, you know, kind of just being mindful and all that. But when you're doing this multiple times a week, it gets really stale really quickly. So I have a few podcasts that I listen to. If you have friends, if you have friends who send voice memos or things like that, that can also be really handy. Or even just getting on the phone with someone, music that you enjoy, anything like that. You know, just have a half decent pair of earbuds. My earbuds are a piece of shit. My earbuds suck, but they work, and that's all that's important. So definitely recommend doing something like that while you're going on walks, just to keep your mind entertained, and that way you're not bored, because if you're bored while you're doing a walk, you're going to be way less likely to finish the walk. Part of building any new habit is that you need to have a really good incentive to do it versus not do it. So that's where, if you have entertainment while you're on a walk, and you enjoy the walk more because of that, you're more likely to go on a walk again. So that's something important to keep in mind. On a similar note, regarding building habits, it's also important to remember that walking, even if you are a fast walker, walking takes a lot of time, and you need to have the ability to prioritize walking over potentially other tasks that you have going on in your life. So for me, walking 10,000 steps a day, especially if I'm having to do intentional walking, if I'm not getting steps in from just my daily life, easily an hour and a half. Easily. Hour 15, hour and a half, especially because I have to drive to trails. Unfortunately, I don't live in anywhere that's particularly walkable, so I don't get steps just naturally by walking. Ultimately, depending on your living situation, you have time for what you choose to prioritize. So if you are prioritizing playing video games over walking, or reading over walking, or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But just know, you are choosing to prioritize that. So you might say right now, like, oh, well, you know, I don't have time to go for a walk every day, especially for an hour and a half or however long. And that might be true. Again, I don't know you personally, could absolutely be true. But I just want to throw that out there, that if you think you don't have time, but then you check your screen time and you spend 5 hours a day on TikTok, you might have time. Just throwing that out there. So don't feel like that's demotivating in any way, the fact that walking takes time. Anything worth doing is gonna be hard, it's gonna take time. And also, again, you don't need to hit 10,000 steps. You don't need to be stupid like I am, okay? You could hit half of that in half the amount of time, and you're still getting very, very good health benefits. So I don't want to discourage anyone who maybe wants to walk and just doesn't know how exactly to go about doing it, or they feel that it's too difficult or anything like that. Walking is the most accessible form of self-care. Some other things I learned about walking is that if you have a dog and you think that having a dog is going to make you go on more walks, really reconsider that. Or same thing if you are wanting to get a dog because you think that it'll make you more active. Again, really reconsider that. I have 2 dogs. You've seen them before. They've shown up in this video a few times. Dove is the white one, Wizzy is the brown one. And you may notice a little bit that my clips of walks tend to jump around a little bit, and that's because every time that I go to start recording, I only get like maybe 30 seconds of footage, if I'm lucky, of the pups walking both on the sidewalk, and then Wizzy will smell something and she'll whoop right off to the side. And if Wizzy smells something, Dove wants to smell it, so then he'll go off to the side, and then we'll stop and we'll let them sniff, and then we'll move on. And I will always let my dogs sniff, of course. If it's safe to do, my dogs are always going to be sniffing whatever it is they want to sniff. Their enrichment is important too. This is our walk, it's not my walk. I just want to note that if you have a dog that is a sniffer, like Wizzy, your walk might take a lot longer than if you went on your own, is all I'm gonna say. So just noting that, Dove, he's much more of a, you know, let's get down to business. We are on a walk to walk. We are gonna straight line. He's way better about that. Wizzy, she's not here for the walk. She is here for the sights and the smells. And she is an adventurous girl, but she is not a quick girl. So, think about that. If you have a dog, if you're thinking of getting a dog because you think that you'll be able to go on walks with them, consider what kind of dog you have. And breed does not matter. Dove and Wizzy are the same breed. They are incredibly different. They have very different energy levels and energy needs. Exact same age, exact same breed, same litter, everything. So don't get, I don't know, a German Shepherd and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna walk 5 miles a day every single day. You have to consider the dog's personality as well as their breed, because their breed doesn't just automatically mean that they're gonna be super down to go on a walk with you. Some other things: make sure you're drinking water, of course, especially if you are increasing your activity level to go on these walks. Drinking water, super important. Also make sure you're sleeping half decent. I actually plan on releasing a video in a little bit, just kind of outlining how I got a half decent sleep schedule. I won't talk about that too much right now, but you know, get enough sleep. Be consistent enough with your sleep schedule. Have the foundation before you worry about adding walking. You know, if you are barely eating and you feel like shit and you barely sleep, don't worry about getting 1,000,000 steps a day. You know, it's just not worth it. You have other foundational issues first. But yeah, ultimately, I do think when it comes down to it, walking, it's just about having the time to do it. I think it's absolutely rewarding. It can be great to do. I do enjoy my time walking, and I do enjoy the kind of mindset shift, even though some people don't like the gamification of steps, which is totally understandable. I kind of like that, you know, I'm more likely to run downstairs to grab something real quick because I'm like, oh, well, I need the steps anyway, may as well go. Or I'm more likely to park further away when I go somewhere because I'm like, oh, well, I need the steps, so may as well. Things like that. I personally enjoy, of course, if you don't, I guess, disregard. I personally enjoy it though. But yeah, some days there was really shitty weather that I didn't want to go out in, or I just didn't want to get muddy, and so I would walk in circles around my house a lot just to make sure I'd get enough steps. So sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do with things like this. Whenever you're talking about getting steps, it's a little, because it is a gamification, the way I'm doing it is a gamification, and because I am focusing on the numbers on this stupid little device here, if I have an off day, I don't want that showing in my stats. So, you know, I will make a point to just try and still get that number up. Whereas if you're not worrying about something like a health device that's tracking and maybe you just take an off day or something like that. And off days are still important too. You know, if you physically aren't feeling up to it, if you, you know, are just really going through it or something, or if your, you know, hormones aren't lined up, anything like that, absolutely still take an off day. There's nothing wrong with that. Rest is way more important than walking. That's also why I said that If your sleep schedule is fucked up, don't focus on getting a bunch of steps a day. You're not going to keep up with it. You're gonna crash and burn. Your body is gonna force you to rest. You need to make sure that you are having enough sleep, you're getting enough water, you're eating enough, things like that, before you try adding on something like physical exercise. Again, not a professional. That's just my opinion. That's just what I personally would want to do for myself. I would not be stressing any sort of physical activity before my basic self-care is in order.
I'm gonna write a new song, gonna make it sound like poetry. It doesn't sound too hard to me, just gotta get it all out. And if the lights go dark, who cares about a little tragedy? It won't mean too much to me when I get my start. And in the morning you'll call me, I'm humming a tune. And this one ain't about you. You make me wanna twist and shout. You make me wanna turn it all around. I got a brand new stomping ground, a place of my own. Gonna let my colors fly. Look my mama right in the eye. Tell my daddy I said goodbye, 'cause I got out. And in the morning you'll call me, I'm humming a tune. But this one ain't about you. And if life moves on, what happens to the bad memories? Are they gonna stay stuck to me, or will they move along? Well, you know I love you too, and you know I can't keep up with you. What was I supposed to do when you let me drown? In the morning you'll call me, I'm humming a tune. But still, it ain't about you.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I've said my piece on everything. I hope that this video was helpful. I hope anyone who is trying to take more steps a day or just generally be more active found something useful from this video. I have enjoyed taking 10,000 steps a day. If I had more time in the day, I would honestly do more. I do really enjoy walking. So I hope that you got from this video what you needed, and I hope I helped. Bye.